we're going to kick off today. I'm so genuinely publicly grateful to them for coming to do this, because they have stuck around, and Paul has actually gone back to Scotland and then flown back again within the space of about 24 hours. So I'm very grateful to them for being here. On Monday night, we had our kbbreview Awards, and where these guys, Kitchens International, were crowned the Kitchen Retailer of the Year. So if they're looking a little bit hungover as well, that's probably a result of that too. So I'm so pleased that they've signed up to do this with us, just to give us a kind of run through and an overview of what they do and how they approach this industry, because it really is a fantastic case study of where retail in this industry should go and could go. So I thought, gents, by the way, it's Jerry's on the left and Paul's on the right, in case you didn't know. I thought it's worth starting, gents, with I think probably people are familiar with the name and they've seen you guys around, but I thought it might be worth starting with a bit of an overview of the sort of the scale and scope of the business and a little bit of the history. So let's start with you, Jerry. When did you start? And give us an idea now of sort of the scale of the thing.
We started Kitchens International 21 years ago, January 95. We at present have 95 staff. We have 6 showrooms. We operate in the contract market and the retail market. Last year turnover was in the excess of £12 million. Within that 90 staff, we obviously employ our own logistics, project management, fitters, designers, design technicians, and then obviously a support team from the administration and account side of the business. And
you've obviously got more than one showroom as well, Paul, haven't you?
Yes, we do. Yeah, so we have 6 showrooms.
Yeah. So give us an idea where they are and the difference between them.
So throughout Scotland, we have a little bit of a mixture of studios. We have high street locations in Edinburgh, in Glasgow and Perth. We have also a concession inside a furniture store in Edinburgh. Head office is Broxburn, which has its own studio attached to it, and we have a large retail unit in Aberdeen. But it's from basically an industrial estate in Aberdeen. So it's not a completely consistent brand sort of studio perspective, but internally they're all...
It's grown very organically to become that, hasn't it?
That's the
difference. You haven't kind of picked and targeted those things necessarily. No. But that's still very difficult markets to operate in. There's a big difference between an industrial estate and a high street, and these are very different things to manage on the way, aren't they?
Yes, it can be. But it's also... each region, one of the biggest changes that we've made over the years, especially the last 5 years, is we've looked at each area as its own marketplace. So High Street gives you obviously the passing traffic. If you then have to use, as in Aberdeen, more of a marketing tool to draw people to you, so it just allows us a different approach in different cities.
So give us an idea then of it's March 2016. Give us an idea of your snapshot of how the overall market is doing, well, how you're doing, and how you think the market is doing.
We've had a very strong start to 2016. We had a good finish to 2015 and a very strong start to 2016. On the overall market, if I can exclude the North East, if there's anybody from the North East here at the minute, it's having a little bit of difficulty, but the overall market I think is actually very positive, and it's definitely on the way up, or on growth. And I do see Kitchens International will grow on figure turnover wise this year between 20 to 25%. Is what we're predicting, and so we see a strong market there at this minute in time.
Where's that growth coming from then? Is it retail or contract, or is it a bit of both? Where's that coming from?
It will be a bit of both, but I actually see more retail this year. We had a good growth in contracts last year, so we'll stabilise that and run that through. The contract market, you almost know your order book 12 months in advance. You're tendering for 2017 work at the moment, not necessarily the 2016 work, so we know what we should deliver in 2016, which will be pretty fluent on contract. But we've got a good growth. We put a lot of strategies in last year on the retail side of the business, and we're looking for a really good growth in retail this year.
So what pitch of the market is that growth coming from, Paul? Is it the big premium stuff? Is it where in the sort of budget level is that growth coming from?
It's kind of middle to top for us. So yeah, we do some lovely big projects, but we also have some other clients who come to us with sort of more modest budgets, and we try and find the right product and the right fit to suit the client's needs.
And one of the things I think is fascinating about the way you run KI is this: you have a definite business philosophy, don't you? You have a definite, almost very corporate approach to selling kitchens. So give us an idea of how would you vocalise that, the kitchen's international philosophy?
I would say our philosophy is very much based on a culture of the business and within the business. We've very much focused on the culture of the people and look at where they fit. So if you look at from a design point of view, we're very much graduates who have either qualified in interior design or space design, and then they'll work with us between 2 to 4 years learning about kitchens and what goes with the kitchens. So really, and the corporate approach is it the process. It is a process. I don't believe designing and selling a kitchen is that much different from going into a restaurant and ordering a meal. You've got to be that approachable. You've got to know the process, what's got to come first, what's got to happen second, what's got to start third, and just move through that process and take the client along the journey from the start to the finish.
That's one of the things that you very clearly define those steps and stages in that journey as well, don't you? And you basically hammer that home in the nicest possible way to your staff as well. How you operate your teams and make sure they understand what the philosophy of KI is one of the most interesting bits. I mean, there's an acronym for it, isn't it? You use, what is it?
We have a philosophy called EST.
EST, that was it.
Which is effective smaller teams. So we realised about 5 years ago that the size of the business was of similar numbers as to where we are just now, but there was a lot of confusion in the business, if that's for a better word. So we now have we've got 9 teams in our business. We've got 7 sales teams, and the sales teams include, as Gerry said, sales designers. We have design technicians, project managers, installers, who all work at the front-facing side of the business to the consumer-facing. We have 2 separate teams behind those, which was EST support, which is marketing, it's HR, it's IT, it's all the resources that we need to provide the teams with the environment for them to do what they can do. And then just recently we've split the EST support into a logistic team, comprising of our warehouse and our distribution. And every 5 weeks we have staff training, EST training days, so they're always facilitated by the directors of the business, so we get an idea right from the very front of the business what the challenges are, what team needs support and what areas.
Because what's really interesting about that, I think, is you employ a lot of people and you have to kind of manage that in a very structured way. Mm-hmm. But everything you just said could be attributed to a showroom that's got 5 people in it.
Totally. Yes.
It's about everyone understanding what it is they're supposed to be doing. It sounds so straightforward, really. But they've got to understand what they're doing and where they fit into the machine, and then all being able to vocalise what that culture is or what that structure is.
Unbelievably so. The quieter voices in our business are the ones who've actually came up with some of the best ideas, and we just didn't have a forum or an environment in place before to start gleaning that information. So each team is its own self-contained unit.
What can happen in smaller businesses is that lots of people end up doing lots of different jobs.
Yeah.
And they can get a bit lost in where their own position is within it. But your approach is to go, let's work out what everybody can do.
Completely, yes. And
put in the mechanism to get out of them the information that we need, and we give them the information that they need to go away and sell.
So we have the meetings go in the format of, we have what we call a global agenda, which is maybe a message that we want to get across throughout the whole of the business, and then each team has their own specific agenda. So they'll put it up on the board, they'll talk about circumstances and things they want to grow and develop and change. 4 key areas that we work on is teamwork, which is our philosophy, it's our culture, roles and responsibilities, goals and expectations, and clear communication. Those are the 4 key topics. That
you also have to set aside time in the day to do it very, very methodically, and you have to be very strict with that, because it's very easy as well for these things to drift off because you're busy too.
We, as Paul said, every 5 weeks we sit down with the teams. One director will take on the meetings. We'll have 2 meetings. It'll be a Tuesday and a Thursday. It's 9 o'clock to 12:30. It's in the diaries. It's on the fitting schedules. It's all that sort of things that that is the important part of that week. It's every bit as important as fitting that client's kitchen, and it's being open, clear communication with the client and letting them know that we have a staff development morning, so we won't be in your home today or tomorrow, sort of thing. When we first brought it in, the guys I don't know what I'm going to communicate with the client. This is important. This is about the client. If we don't develop ourselves, we're never going to deliver the correct service. The communication between the teams, understanding their own role and responsibility, and knowing the part that they play in that process is huge. You know, it's a relay race. You know, it's one of the examples we'll use, that you just got to remember when you're passing that baton over, in the area you've got to pass that baton over in is every bit as if more effective and more important than necessarily the part that you've got to run. You've just got to get it right.
I mean, you guys are, very successful. You won an award on Monday night. What do you think makes a successful retailer?
I would.
If you've got a retailer here who's thinking, what am I going to go away here? What do they have to define themselves by to be successful?
I would say it starts at the top. That's the one thing we've realised over the years. It's the responsibility of the business, as much as we have 94 people other than ourselves, needs it to come from us. We set the standards and we set the expectations for the whole of the company. So I would say for anybody in the business to know your own role. I think I've said this before, but know what you're good at and know what other complementary skills you need to bring into your business to make a complete unit. Know your clients would be probably the most important thing I would say. To really understand their needs and wants is huge. And lastly, do what you say. If you say you're going to do it, make sure you do it, and more, and do even more than the client expects.
So what's interesting in that is you didn't mention making money once. But seriously, you have to be you are a business, aren't you? And you have to operate as a business. You have to have a clear-cut understanding of when you are or aren't making money. I mean, we were saying earlier on, the first kitchen you ever sold, you made 270 quid on it. Yeah.
We've never made as much since.
But you are, as much as you need to be quite a holistic approach to staff and training and everything else, you've got to make money, haven't you?
Yes, we believe. We focus on the culture of our business and within the business, and you can't have just culture and be hugging trees and that's going to work sort of thing. But we genuinely believe if we concentrate and focus on the cultural side of the business, the commercial reward will be the outcome. So we need both. We have to have a balance in both, i.e. the guys know their targets, the whole team will know what their target is for quarter one, how many kitchens they're looking to install in quarter one, they'll know their target for quarter two. At these meetings they'll update each other, they'll give the forecast, all that sort of stuff. So there is commercial there, but the 4 topics of growth or areas of development for the teams, as Paul said, is your clear communication, understand your role, teamwork and goals and expectations. So that's where we will develop. We, again, as a business, and Paul said it starts at the top. The day we stop developing will be the day the business will stop developing. So we've got to go and keep finding new ideas, energies that we can take to the business.
To be successful, you obviously have a lot of external relationships as well with your suppliers. Give us an idea, who are your sort of main brands that you deal with?
From a furniture point of view, we have Pog and Paul, Leicht, Stoneham and Callerton. From an appliance point of view, we have Siemens, Gaggenau, Sub-Zero Wolf and Vizug. And that's really the main brands. We have Blanco from Sinks. And Coolers. I
mean, I'm guessing that when one of you guys steps onto one of these stands, they kind of leap on you like a wolf on a sheep. I'm guessing. So, what are you looking for from your suppliers? What is it that I mean, obviously you want to make the money from it. You want the margin and everything else. But there's so much talk about partnerships between retailers and suppliers, and you guys are of a size where you are a significant partner with a lot of these guys. What are you looking for from them?
I would say that the businesses have to align. So we must want to have the same outcome. The same approach to our client has got to be what we want these guys to have and support us. So culturally, we want to look at the culture of their business. We want to look at their forward thinking of a business, because we need support to take our business forward. And in service, Paul said it earlier, just do what you say and a little bit more. And that allows us to do what we'll say and promise, and hopefully a little bit more.
Is there an assumption, Paul, that the product's good is step one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I've taken as read that you've got a good product and I can sell it, but after that it's like, how do we work together? What questions do they ask you? What do they always want to know from you? What's their requirements from and how much negotiation can you put into it? So they come in and go, we want that much showroom space. You're of a size where you can go, oh no, you can't have it, aren't you?
Yeah. Sometimes, yes. But again, we've got to stand pretty strong as to what we believe in. So therefore, it's focusing on the outcome rather than saying, if you have 80% of our showroom, does that guarantee 80% of our business? The reality is it's not necessarily the case. So training, good product training is hugely important for us. As Gerry said, forward thinking, where are they going to sit in alignment to our marketplace, the products that we need to deliver in the marketplace that we're in? Are our supplier chain, are they got the right products for us? And ultimately it's delivering. It's just about delivering. We describe ourselves as an independent company with an interdependent culture, and we need our supply chain. They're as important as our clients, and if we can't have the right relationship with our supply chain, then we'll have to just find new suppliers, because it's vitally important to us. And making sure that we know each other's responsibilities. I don't concur that manufacturers and suppliers are now starting to go direct to the consumer. I think there's an awful lot of responsibility for the retailer to start taking responsibility for what is their role and what's their purpose. We've got a job to do. We take the components and we make something with those components.
Can I just quickly go through with you? There's always got the questions that come up in these things. So about the sales process, when that Mrs. Smith or McSmith comes through the door, what that sales process is in particular. So, for example, when do you do your site visit? Do you always do site visits no matter what? Do you charge any fees for design? What's your process with the customer?
Client walks through the door. The first objective is obviously to make them feel welcome and make them feel comfortable. You would then take them through the process. The one thing that you want to get before that client leaves is at least their contact details. And in a world that we're in today, to get an email address to send a PDF file is far better than giving them a brochure and saying, have a flick through that, and hopefully you'll walk back through our showroom, so you can at least start a communication. So that would be step one. Step two is if you manage to book the appointment, fantastic. At the same time, do we visit all sites? Not always, because we do a lot of work off plan. We try to visit all sites. We communicate with architects when we work off plan, and we go through that design process. We'll involve the architect in the design, because obviously they're doing a whole project that they like a bit of input into. So we involve them in that part of it. When we then do the initial presentation to the client, we will then go through the presentation. We'll give them a circa fee sum of what it will probably be about. If they're comfortable, we then talk about instructing us to become their kitchen partner in the project. And at that point, we look for a £1,000 instruction fee before we'll then start doing any more work and drawings with them along their project.
If they commit, do you then take that off the...
Yes. That's
right, okay.
So you've basically got an instruction fee that you would pay £1,000, then you would pay your 25%
deposit. On all £1,000 on everything,
yep.
Regardless of the value of the project. Wow, okay. So how popular is that? I mean, do they all do it? So there's no objection to it? Wow, okay.
It's our strategy towards actually getting. It means everything, which is just its trust. The clients say their kitchen's going to be in that kind of figure there. We've got a want to win out the relationship as well. Our kind of first term is we come to an instruction fee agreement, which clients then sign, and then we use the analogy that we move from opposite sides of the table to the one side of the table, and we now start making the final decisions on profiles of worktops and details. And
so presumably you don't let them leave the door with a design in their hand until they've handed a grand over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All the presentations are done on screen now, so it's quite easy. You've not got a hard copy sitting down in front of you to say, well, can I take that with me? And, no, sorry.
So how have you seen consumers change then in the last sort of few years? Because the balance of power seems to have shifted a little bit. Are they, when they come into you, are they much better informed? Do they have it all under their arm? What exactly is they want? How have you changed what you do accordingly?
Again, probably our approach is initially they need different things at different stages through the process. Initially, the first side of our opportunity to tender for their business, inspiration is the word we use. We can say we need to inspire the clients at the very outset that they want to buy a kitchen from us as much as we want to provide them with a kitchen. So our sales team are focused, our designers are focused on getting it right first time, inspiring the clients and providing them with something that they're not going to get anywhere else. Clients are more savvy, but that's a good thing as well, because they then can be able to see through other competition that might not be providing them with the product and service and value that we do. So inspiration further during the project, it would be a need for reassurance, probably the word I would use. We would provide clear paperwork to clients. We give them accurate service drawings. We provide them a client pack, which gives them all the information, the details. We have a schedule of works, which tells them exactly when the job's going to start and when the job's going to finish. So it's another stage where they then are reassured that they've made the right decision. And then finally, it's delivering it. It's just making sure we do what we say we're going to do.
Brilliant, because it came from one of the previous sessions about definition of bespoke, and bespoke seems to be about the furniture and the artisanship of the thing. Actually, it's about the experience.
Yeah.
The experience of buying from you. The customer needs to walk away feeling that it has been a bespoke one.
Yeah.
And that's the approach you take.
Even through to extent, from a staff development, we go through a profiling, for want of a better word. So we have a mechanism called Insights. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but it basically helps distinguish the personalities and profiles in our team. And we are completely different individuals. We have an awful lot of similar qualities, but at the end of the day, we're quite different how we approach it. And what we do from a service to our clients is we second guess the kind of nature and the personalities of the clients, and we provide a service that's tailored to suit their needs and wants. Examples being, some clients will be very much crossing T's, dotting I's. It's more of a give me all the detail, where other clients in a less patient approach, maybe like Gerry, we just say, look, I just want it, let me know when I'm going to get it. So we just need to tailor our service to suit their expectations.
Yeah, tailor's probably the right word to use in that circumstance. Obviously, all retail now has to have a certain element of online, whether you are literally doing transactions online or not. It is part of the customer journey. It is, it's where they start their research. What's your approach and take to how Kitchens International should approach online in general, and in particular, I guess, the flip side of that is the pricing argument that comes across with price matching and price comparison, particularly on appliances?
Again, the approach, and it's Paul's topic, but from our website, that's what we look at. We don't do any trading online. It really is an extension of the showrooms. It's got to have a bit of the personality of what the business is about, and hopefully there'll be a call to action for somebody either to inquire through the website or pop into the showroom. But the most interactive we're doing is the inquiry on the website is all we're looking for at the very most. There's no online trade as such, but it's very much hopefully it's the start of the journey. And nowadays people, I would have thought 90% of people who come into the showroom have had a look at your website.
Mm-hmm. You're much more on the marketing side of things, Paul, but how important is that online step, and to invest in it, to spend the time on updating it, and that's always the hardest part that people have, isn't it?
Yes.
You can build it and then it just gets left.
Yes.
And so how do you build in, do you employ people just to do that? Or?
So just actually last year, young guy Ross, who worked with us part-time when he was going through his university degree. He worked with us for 4 years. He graduated in the summertime, and we brought him on full-time now to the business. So we're self content managed as a site now. We can change our images, our content much quicker than we used to in the old days. Social media becomes a part of obviously our personality, as Gerry says, so we're active in it. Still not completely convinced it's value, but it's something that we have.
I suppose that's the thing, is that to employ someone full-time to do this stuff is an investment, but it's a very difficult thing to then measure whether that investment actually pays itself off, isn't it?
Yeah.
But how much can you measure whether, you say 90%, but how much can you measure whether the person coming through the door has already encountered you online before they've walked in? Do you ask them?
We do. We have a design brief, and again, wearing my marketing hat, I would wish it was filled in more accurately an awful lot of the time, but the designers have got other information that they're trying to collate. If anything at all, I think you can end up measuring too much sometimes, Andy. I think we measure the context of our business, we measure its success with our client satisfaction, we measure it with our turnover, our profitability. So those become things we can measure, and I think sometimes you can get caught too much in the minutiae, the detail. I think you get a good feeling if you're doing the right thing. So I think measuring it too much, I think it's just the wrong way to go.
Do you get a lot of price comparison type stuff, though. It's a big argument that goes on and rumbles on and on, whether selling appliances online, people are undercutting you, customers come in with price matching. How do you cope with that? Just forget it, I'm not interested, or is it, go away, buy it from us or else?
Every client wants value for money, so it's an important part of the whole negotiation. But one thing we're very strong as a business is that we supply the whole package. Yeah, so we don't break down the worktops, we don't break down the appliances, we don't break down the furniture. You're buying a whole concept. If you want to go along the KI journey, this is what you need to do. If you won't go along the KI journey as well as it could be if you're going to get your appliances from online over here, and I'm going to get Jimmy Smith Granite to come and fit my worktops over there, because we've no control over that. So we're very much, it's a package that you're buying from us. So it's not a broken down price of the induction hob's this, the combination microwave's that, my silestone or granite is costing me that. It's just not what we do. We still have to be competitive and give value for money, but we, again, very, very low people that we wouldn't supply appliances to when we're supplying the kitchen.
But the question must come up when the client sat in the showroom, surely.
Mm-hmm.
An F oven's an F oven. They must be able. It must come up in the process of discussions with the designer salesperson.
Funny enough, it doesn't come up that much, Andy. No, generally it doesn't. I think if we're focusing on the bigger picture, really, and if people are and they will get value from us, and they trust in us, then we will deliver to them. We can't beat internet prices. We're not going to say we can to the consumer, but as a full package, if that's what they want, then we can guarantee them value. They can vote with their feet. If they don't believe, then they won't necessarily buy from us.
You've sold them Kitchens International before you sold them an appliance, haven't you? That's the trick of it.
Absolutely.
By the time they get to a point where they see a price, they've already bought into the service. I suppose that's the point.
And it's the whole package part of it that we talk about is, and it's good having the contract side of the business and the retail side of the business, because you can quite honestly sit in front of a client who's buying an expensive kitchen for the very first time, and they're saying, look, I really want to check my appliances, I want to check my fitting, and it's like, well, honestly, would Cala Homes and Miller Homes be buying from Kitchens International if they didn't think it was good value for money? And on the contract side of the business, we're exactly the same. We don't break it down. You have to have the furniture, the whole thing, joinery included. We fit all our kitchens.
Okay. Now, I'm asking you this because I've sort of asked everybody this along the way, but you are a successful small to medium-sized business.
Yep.
You employ a significant number of people within your local area. You've had a referendum.
We have, yeah.
You've had one, but greedily you're going to have another one. Where do you stand on Europe in or out? You are a small business that employs 90 odd people.
From a personal opinion, and it is only a personal opinion at this moment in time because we've not discussed it at the board. If I take the Scottish referendum, to start with, we had our own personal opinions and we didn't have a business opinion. We decided as a board that we actually should be giving some sort of lead to what we felt was right for our business, which we then did and communicated that to staff. They still have their own choice, no problem with it. So as a board, we've not sat down and discussed the EU yet. We have got a board meeting at the end of the month. Will be one of the topics that we'll discuss of what we want to go with it. But from a personal opinion, I really don't think we need the uncertainty at this minute in time. The market's still, fairly positive. I would stay in.
Paul, what do you think? I mean, you must have had to deal with uncertainty approaching the Scottish referendum, not really knowing how that would affect you in or out. What do you think? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to.
In for me. Definitely in for me, yes.
Because you deal with big German companies, it will have some impact on you one way or the other. Yeah. So that should be a guide that if you employ 90 people who aren't sure how it will directly affect them, you should provide some kind of guidance.
Well, we should, again, going back to with the Scottish referendum, we actually asked our staff what their opinions were, and there was varying different opinions in the business, but from a company perspective, there was we gave our opinion as to what we felt was best, because we have a responsibility to obviously 90 plus families, so it is obviously an important role that we take seriously. But I'm with Gerry. There's no need for the uncertainty just now.
Okay, what I thought we'd do, and I've lost my clicker. Hang on. What I asked you before you came here was to give us sort of top 5 things that all retailers should be thinking about and concentrating on. This is a way of kind of rounding up and concluding all this thing. And in a typical Kitchens International going the extra mile, you gave me 6. So,
Was it 3?
if we run through these quite quickly, but it's just a way of rounding up a lot of the subjects we've already talked about, but it gives everybody a chance to write something down. The first one is know your numbers. Now, we've touched on this a little bit, but how important is it that you understand exactly what you're making and what you're not making?
Again, know your numbers is not necessarily just knowing the bottom line. I think it's very important for the team to know their numbers. As we use the vehicle, as we call it, to affect the smaller teams, they're almost independent businesses, but they need that interdependent culture, they need logistics, they need support. So the teams very much will know what their numbers are required, i.e. what's their conversion rate, how many kitchens, the average value do you need to fit to hit this, all that sort of stuff that the staff are, the managers definitely are all very much aware of it, and hopefully not focused on it too much, because the client experience is still what is the
do you measure client experiences anyway? Do you have like a satisfaction report?
Yeah, we do, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we do.
Presumably that's... You wouldn't tell me if it wasn't very high, would you?
Well, we can always have improvements. We can always do better. Again, the part of the staff development is always based on feedback that we get at the S meetings as to how the projects have gone. So we use that information as a tool to improve our performance.
Okay. Right, number 2 here. Do your staff understand what contribution is? Now, explain that one to me, because that was one of yours, I think.
No, I think that was one
Was that one of yours? Okay.
Contribute. Again, we, as a board, look at our business and decide what area we want to take as a topic per year. Every year we have a focus. So 2016 is making staff more aware of contribution and what contribution means to them. Contribution sounds very much, it's about the bottom line, but as we talk as a business, we talk about the culture and we talk about the commercial side of it, and the commercial is definitely the outcome. The part of the contribution is all about understanding their role and knowing what contribution they're making to the client's journey, and what their impact can be, good or bad, and how can they improve their contribution in that journey for the client. So again, going back into the teamwork, it's knowing your role and play your part. Very much so is where we are with it.
Okay. Right, number 3 here. Can you define your purposes and vision?
Yes, so our purpose is to create home environments that improve people's lives. Our objective of doing that is to provide clients with the ultimate kitchen experience. With regards to our visions to grow our business internally, we grow a strong, a word that we use in our business is resilient. There's other words that we spoke about, but resilient is actually, it's a consistent behaviour. Challenges will come along. We had a sad news last year, but we lost a board member. Tragically, poor Suzanne died last year. It caused a bit of strain and stress in the business, but we grew stronger because of the experience. So resilience is what we're about.
But I guess it's defining those things so you can map every decision against them, every decision you have to make.
Core values, we have core values in our business. Our staff are aware of them. Hopefully if there's any here, they might be able to tell you them and recite them offhand. But we have belief, we have integrity, we have bravery, and we have teamwork are all core values. And round the boardroom, we make our decisions based on those values in place.
Because at the end of that, I thought you were going to say, and they'll never take our freedom. That's what number 4, do you focus on the why and not the how? What is that? That was one of yours.
Yes. About 4 years ago, we agreed to support DIY SOS. SOS DIY. Yeah. Okay, Guy Knowles. And it was a fantastic experience for us as a business and also a learning tool. Quite simply, because of the purpose and because of why we were doing what we were doing, there was no issues came up with regards to mistakes, there was no blame culture, everybody worked beside each other, subcontracted trades that we were dovetailing our work in with, there was no resistance, so therefore the purpose of why we were doing it came up with all the solutions as to how we should go about doing it, and an awful lot of companies focus on how to do something, not why they're actually doing it.
Good answer. Number 5 here is do you know your role? Now we've kind of touched on that one, I think, so we should probably skip that. But number 6. Now before we discuss this, I'm actually going to open this up for some questions in a minute. Now if any of you are feeling particularly brave and want to be the first person to ask a question this morning, get ready to wave your hand in the air. But number 6 here, because you wouldn't do 5, would you? is stop selling and start helping. Now that was one of yours, wasn't it? What do you mean by that?
It's a few years ago now that we spoke about it, but it's just the difference between empathy, putting yourself in the client's shoes, I think is such an important skill to designers. An awful lot of designers have got a fantastically creative ability, but they design kitchens that they want, and they endeavour to sell kitchens that they want to sell, not help client make decisions. And it's just a subtle change of how you approach the situation, but rather than your objective being to sell the client a kitchen, make your objective to be to help the client buy a kitchen, and it just changes the perspective and helps you get far clearer communication with the consumer.
It's a subtle change, but a very important change. I think that's really good. Right, has anybody got a question? Who's going to be brave enough to put their hand up first today? Yes, sir, down the front. I'm going to go all Jeremy Kyle on you now.
Hi, Steve Garcia from Electric Design. We're a marketing design company. I'm interested in what are your key kind of marketing tools? Is it internet? Is it email? Is it social media? Where do you get most of your customers from?
Go for it. Yeah, it's still recommendation. It's still our highest return of marketing benefit. We use our studios as environments for networking. So all of our studios have private dining facilities. So tonight in Dundas Street we have 16 clients coming in who have, some of them are ambassadors of KI who bought before, other ones are in the process of buying. We put professional chefs on, we wine and dine. This Sunday, Scotland are playing France rugby. We have an event on in Aberdeen for 25, 30 clients. So it's very much using our in-studio space to create the right atmosphere, to create the energy, to then get...
But how do you grease those wheels, though? How do you get those clients that have dealt with you to recommend you? Do you give them a nudge every now and again somehow with some direct mail or email or something like that?
Yeah, so we've got a database. We work our database regularly. We keep in touch. We communicate with them. And again, going back to the cultural part of it, Andy, we're very appreciative of these guys and investing their money with us. So it becomes a really nice touch if we send an invitation out to them, and when they think there's no need for us to do so apart from just as a thank you to come along to an event, and it just reinstills the right culture and environment.
Okay, anybody else want to ask a question before we round it up? Oh, right at the back, just give me some exercise. Hang on.
Hi, given that you're 21 years, something like that, of age, how come you're not in England?
How come we're not?
In England.
Well, we're waiting on the referendum.
Yes. Why haven't you expanded south of the border?
Wow. We've spoke about it many times at board level. We made the decision that we were comfortable where we are. I think going forward, we would look more at other revenue streams and other channels is what we think we'll probably do next, as opposed to necessarily opening another 6 showrooms in England. To be perfectly
You do have the
honest.
word international in the name.
Yeah.
We import.
Is that ironic?
We import internationally.
Yeah, okay. You have international brands.
No, we actually have fitted a few kitchens down south in the last 3 or 4 months. Logistics would probably be the word, because we do take a real sort of care and pride to make sure that we can deliver. It then would be a case of bringing a team together, logistics with regards to our warehouse and our distribution, making sure that we can deliver the project. Yep.
You mentioned early on that your whole ethos was based around small teams.
Yes.
Yep.
So surely you can move into England quite easily. Just smaller teams based in England.
I agree.
In real terms, yes, you would say that. But as Paul said earlier, when we look at ourselves as an independent business, but with the interdependent culture, very much in our support team and our logistics team, that sort of would break up the sales team, if you like, the sales and fitting team. So from a sales and fitting project management point of view, that can be repeated as many times as you like. We've then got to look at the support team and the logistic team, how we then bring that into play.
Okay, anybody else before we just finish up? Oh, the man with the masterclass tie on.
Thank you, Andrew. I just want to say good morning to both of you. My name's Jason Williams. I look after the marketing for Masterclass Kitchens. I'm very interested to find out what your strategy is for contacting customers. Do you have a set contact strategy over a course of a period of time to enable your staff to maintain contact and increase conversion rates?
It's relationships is the most important thing, yes. So going back to my point earlier, each branch will have a facility to welcome clients in. We have a high recommendation level. We work closely when we're tendering for projects with the architect or the interior designer or the extended team. That might entail also other builders, so therefore we then want to make sure that we're providing a service that dovetails in with everybody else that's involved in the project, and that in turn becomes a networking vehicle for future business that these guys then say, well, they worked fantastic on this one and here's another project, and it basically just starts to grow from within, if that makes sense.
Well, listen, I think the clock's beaten us, unfortunately, but I think I'm sure Jerry and Paul will hang around for 5 minutes if everyone wants to talk to them directly. But I'm so grateful that you stuck around to do this. So thank you very much, gents. It's been absolutely fascinating. So thank you very much.